Maria, welcome to Salty Big Club. I am so thankful that we have carved out this time. I know the time is a very valuable thing at the moment.
Scarce resource.
Yeah.
No, there's an abundance.
At the end of our week together, we have made it, and I'm so glad that we get to speak about some things, because you are truly one of the most inspiring people in my life. So naturally, I really wanted my community to hear a little bit about your wisdom, your radiance, your story.
So happy to be here, be a part of the club, the dough.
You are a mother. You co-founded a startup here in Oslo. You studied clinical psychology. You are a mindfulness practitioner, a yoga teacher, such an inspiring woman. But for most of all, I would love for the listeners to hear from you what you feel like you are in this current state or this chapter of life.
Oh, wow. It's an interesting question, just because of where I am right now, because I'm really in somewhat of an in-between state, especially in regards to how we usually define ourselves.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, I've co-founded a startup, and I'm also studying clinical psychology. And that was like a huge part of my identity for such a long time. And the startup was a sleep tech startup. So I'm passionate about all things sleep and nervous system regulation, which I'm sure we'll get back to. And we did the whole investor thing. We did the prototypes. It was a high-tech product. And we were on pretty much a good track to success, I think.
I loved what you do. I was such a fangirl.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah. You know, I was too. I was really looking forward to having this product that we were creating. But then in our second funding round, we started struggling. And this was also at a time where I'd had my first child. And after a long battle, I would say, because we really didn't want to put it down.
Yeah.
And we really had to put our egos aside and also trust in the timing of things, I guess. But at one point, we had to put it to rest. And so I'm not a co-CEO anymore. And
all of a sudden.
Yeah, all of a sudden. But I'm a mother of two now. And my studies are also on hold. I just have the last practicum.
Yeah.
And my thesis left. And so when you ask, like, who am I? Then it's really like none of the labels really really fit me anymore, which makes me have to dig a little deeper for that question.
It's so beautiful because, yes, none of the labels that you might have identified for a period of time so intensively work or apply at the moment. I have known you we've been friends for 7 years.
Yes.
And I love the number 7, by the way.
That's my luck number. Yeah.
I love you.
Oh,
Yeah.
7 years.
Wow. And I have never seen you so grounded.
Oh, wow.
Like so within yourself, even though I know I've just been in your life for 7 days.
Yeah. And in the middle of a sleep regression with my second child, and like baby clothes everywhere.
So I know how wild that time is, and how easy, like I adore and admire, and I just value so much to see you in your presence, in just the beautiful human that you are, without having any of these labels to apply. I just love being here with you.
Oh,
I love you so much.
I love you.
Wow.
Turn the camera on.
We're crying we are sitting here, we're having a cardamom bun. But if I would bake you something that would have to embody you, I thought about this a lot yesterday. When I was on the walk with Noah.
Yeah.
And I was like, it can't be just a regular cake. Like, it's got to be something mystical. Like something that has a lot of layers. And then I came up with a millefleur. Do you know that pastry?
Oh, no.
Okay, it's something like it's got a ton of layers. And when you bite into it, it's like crunchy. But then I wouldn't do the regular one. I would just probably infuse some of the layers with cardamom and rose or lavender. I'm not fully fit.
Whoa, rose or lavender. Yes. That is, now we're talking.
So yeah,
you've got to actually bake me this someday. I feel honored. Yeah.
I will. Yeah. At some point. Yes. But for now, we'll have a cardamom bun, and I'm again so lucky. So delicious. That we're sitting here down in your beautiful home and just having a little bit of a talk. All right. So a couple of days ago, you still had 2 kids under 2.
Yes.
We just celebrated the second birthday of your oldest son.
Yeah.
And they are...
Who you are the godmother of.
And
fairy godmother. She has that vibe.
As much fairy vibes as I can onto his life. In that phase right now, what grounds you the most?
I have to say the children in themselves. They are such presence machines, you know? Like, I don't think you have to fight it if you're going to be with a child all day and not be present at all.
Yeah. Which I think happens so often, right?
Yeah.
Like, how many people do not know how to be present?
Yes.
And then have a child.
Yeah.
And that just brings up friction and struggle.
I know. Yeah, and I think I'm right now benefiting a lot from the habits I've had for a long time and all the rituals that were such a big part of my life for a long time, especially in regards to... You know, we've talked a lot about this, but morning and evening rituals. I'm all about morning and evening and sleep and a lot of these rituals are a bit difficult for me to carve out time for these days. Like a proper 1-hour meditation, it's just not possible right now.
Yeah.
But so many of the tools have become sort of part of who I am. So if I'm stressed, there's just an automatic visualization of a grounding cord going into the center of the earth. And there are just deep breaths and intentions of love that I speak without thinking of it in my mind during breastfeeding. And truly also, I think it's a season of my life that is calling me to really lean into support and trust in all my relationships, and that in itself is a huge grounding thing for me.
That is beautiful. And I will add to this that you are one of the most dedicated wellness practitioners. I don't even want to confirm it to yoga that I have seen, because I've seen you so often in many parts of your life. And there was always this force that connected you to source, right? So I really want to underline what you said in the beginning of that you did those practices for such a long time and with so much devotion that now they're just, you can use them in those seconds, right? Those micro moments. And that wouldn't be possible if you wouldn't have walked that path before.
Yeah.
Which is just so inspiring and beautiful to see.
Micro moments.
Micro habits. Yeah.
And I think what you're saying there is so important also, because a lot of people, and I relate to that myself. In the beginning, you can feel so intimidated because it seems like you have to make this huge shift to get all these habits that you hear about up and going, and it can seem so far out of reach. And especially if you think that I have to do this every day for the rest of my life and just create like a rigid routine. But in fact, like tiny shifts are super powerful, and you can do certain rituals for a certain amount of time, and it can still have like a lasting effect on you longer than just the time you're doing the habits.
And I want to get into that more when we speak more about the nervous system and sleep. But for now, let's descend into story. We all know that story is a major part of my life and how I want to do this. And you have such an incredible one. You have walked a path, and had a journey that could fill books, that should fill books. Like there should be a book about you already. But
wow.
I also want to highlight again that you are certainly, like with such certainty, I can say that you are one of the most radiant person I know, and the most radiant or bright people have usually been to the underworld, right? Those people have noticed and seen and heard something from life that is not out there in the daylight, but they brought it back to the daylight. And so have you. And I would love for you to share a little bit about your journey, especially that initiation moment of when you were to the underworld and what you brought back to that and what you got initiated into through that.
Yeah. It was a true moment of initiation. And in a way, I feel very lucky to have had that one so clearly defined moment, although it sort of extended into a much bigger story, obviously. But when I just turned 20, I was in a near-death accident. And it was quite dramatic. I was biking along the death road in Bolivia, which is like cliff, tiny road, cliff. And I lost control of the bike and I fell off the cliff. And in that one moment when I went off, I just saw, like 50 meters into nothingness. And I really had an acceptance in that moment, like I'm actually dying. And obviously I didn't. Let's just get to that part in case you were wondering. Because right where I fell, there was actually this tiny little ledge after like 9 meters that caught me. But I didn't see it. So I went up this cliff and just saw it straight into the big valley. In that moment, I think just your ego just leaves out the door. And I didn't have like a life review or like time really slowed down or anything, but time just stopped existing. And in that moment, I just feel like I could feel my entire life. And from such a space where my energy was not contained to my body, and I could speak for a long time about those precious few seconds. But
disclaimer, people, there might be some construction. We've been trying to wait it out, but we're just gonna speak over it.
Either this is like a major call for us to just put all perfectionism aside.
Oh my god,
I think that resonates with me a lot more than it's because you're not ready, because this is literally what we're talking so much about. This is literally what putting the ego aside to just be of service in some way. Just gonna go and take it as an initiation of its own into our letting go of the perfectionism around this. But that moment, and there are so many things that I could say about that moment, but I will say two things. And the one is that obviously it was a huge spiritual initiation, because it was like an instant downloads of so many things that I think are true for all on like an energy level, and that you really feel when the sense of time dissolves, when that barrier between you and the rest of the universe really just poofs. And the other one is that I never knew how much I wanted to live and how much I loved my life and how perfect everything was, even moments of struggle and hardships. I never knew how perfect they were before that moment.
Can you share something about that?
For example, I grew up with a very sick father. He had Parkinson's disease. And I always obviously thought of sickness as a bad thing. And in that moment, I just realized just the sacredness of it, and how I had really chosen that experience, and how much, just like you said, the layers of every experience we have, and how in that moment of oneness, I didn't rate any of my experiences in life like better or worse than any others. And it was kind of like a funny paradox there, because another part of me was like heartbroken over how much of my precious life energy I'd spent thinking I was not enough, or that something needed to happen, or I needed to arrive somewhere or become something other than what I already was before I could live with like true happiness and peace in my heart. Because in that moment I realized that that was never true, and everything was perfect, and I was so lucky to be here on this planet, having this one life. But then even that was perfect, you know, so it was like all these layers. But there was this longing. I was like, I wish I could just sit in this life for one more minute, feeling it all while knowing this truth. And right as I didn't even think it, but I just felt it. And I can put it into words after. But right as that sort of thought hit me, I landed on this little ledge that I didn't see. And I mean, it was a 9-meter fall onto rock hard ground. And I smashed my spine, had multiple fractures in every part of my body. But in that moment, I only felt euphoria. Am I really getting this gift of life again? And I don't think you ever come back the same from something like that.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that life won't like grab you, and you have to go back to normal life, and you have to sort of find out how to integrate an experience like that.
Yes.
Into still being on this planet and
relate.
Yes.
Yeah. So what parts of that initiation stayed, and what parts or glimpses are fading and coming back?
I think what is constant for me is this like deep knowing that sometimes is like hidden under some layers, but under there's always this knowing that everything is perfect and so beautiful, and I can't really mess up. I can't really it's all so beautiful. And what comes and goes is the connection I had in that moment to my power, to the power we're all born with.
Yeah.
Because that was also something I felt in that moment. I was like, I never realized that I can mold this life into anything I want. And we are so much more powerful than we could ever imagine. And that connection sort of comes and goes, and I forget, or I sort of like I don't stop believing in it, but I just like, I don't always know like how to make it accessible, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, just in yoga, I speak so much about Maya, right? The folk that we're all trying to see through, because we don't see reality as it is. We just have this blurry vision of life, and we think that's true, and so many people are okay with that. But then there are moments in, of course, different priorities and layers that rip us out and that just clear the fog for a moment. And then we have a remembrance.
Yes.
And then it's on us to clear our vision, our perspective, ourselves, our bodies again and again, so we get a little more clear.
Yeah, I love that. It's the remembering. That moment was remembering, and the big practice to sort of maintain, or even I would say honor that moment for me, is to sit down and remember how it felt to think I was dying.
Yeah.
And to...
Was that scary in the beginning?
No.
Wow.
It was actually never scary to remember at that moment. There were other parts of it that were traumatic, but that one moment never, the free falling never felt scary. It felt like a incredible gift.
What did it bring to your life, as in when you look at the person that you are now and the path you've walked ever since? What direction did it turn you towards, and what's the things that entered your life because of that? For hardship and for the struggles that come with such an experience, because there's so much heartache and pain.
Yeah.
Right? We're talking of it as something that gave you so much good, but then I also really want to validate and voice that there is so much heaviness that you had to process because of that. So with all that, the good and the bad, what direction did it guide your life into?
Well, I did pause everything. Like, I was just out of high school, and I was going to uni in a couple of months. This was my gap year. And everything was just paused because I was on bed rest, and I had to have multiple back surgeries over the next couple of years. Had a fused spine and couldn't walk for a long time, and there was a lot of uncertainty if I would ever recover properly, if I could ever function like I did before. And that combined with such a big trauma, obviously my nervous system was a whack. And I also had some complications with a metal screw that went into my spinal cord, and a couple of other things that really shook me. And one of the things that were really hard for me in that time was sleep. And I couldn't sleep. I had nightmares, and but it also drove me into I have to figure this out. And I really took it as a mission, to find a way to heal, because I'd felt the truth that it was possible in a way. And so one of the things I did was dive in headfirst into all information and also all experiments I could do on my own sleep to sleep better. So it really started this huge, I'd say almost like a love affair, an obsession on all things sleep and nervous system regulation, which I'm still so passionate about until this day. If everything's wrecked in the body, where do you even begin to heal? And I truly think that the nervous system is the true foundation of our health. Really the true foundation of our lives. Not just how our bodies function and how our mind is doing, but also how we show up in our relationships and for our purpose, our work, everything. And what I love about sleep is that it's both such a good mirror to how your nervous system is doing a lot of the time. That's true. It's been true for me at least. But it's also a key part of the medicine. So sleep problems are not usually about just sleep isolated, right? It's about stress. And to sleep, you can't force sleep. You have to invite it in. You really have to do that by encouraging this shift from the sympathetic nervous system to the parasympathetic nervous system. And a body that doesn't feel safe won't do that. It will stay in alert mode. And one thing is my experience where my body was really heightened, and this truly life-threatening thing had happened and was really still going on. But today there are so many things that really push our nervous system towards alertness. Absolutely. That for so many of us, we have to be more intentional about supporting that shift. Yeah.
I want to take it so far and say even culturally, we live in, I don't know, it feels like there's a mass insomnia of the soul.
Oh.
Right? There's so many people can't rest or struggle to rest because we've been living so one-sided. We have so many sympathetic triggers in our lives. Yeah, so I think it's a very, very personal experience that can be translated on a almost global layer.
I think nearly everyone experienced some part of this, not necessarily through sleep problems, but it's a very universal thing that our species is really going through right now.
And if you, let's for now just stick to a psychological or nervous system perspective on the coming question.
Yeah. Okay.
Give it to yourself because you know it well.
Okay.
What happens if I'm not able to rest?
Well, if you're unable to rest and you're stuck in this sort of fight-flight mode, you don't get the benefits of this deep rest and healing work that sleep really is. And so, yes, it's important to rest throughout the day as well. There are many different kinds of rests. We won't take it there. But when you rest, there are so many things happening in your brain and body. Like your brain is literally getting a full washout from your glymphatic system that like cleanses out so much of the leftover toxins from all your brain activity in the day. That is like dusting up your brain and really making it hard to see clearly and experience life with that presence and energy you normally do.
Can you for a moment take us into the field of brain waves and what happens then there?
Yes, of course.
Because I think that's a very interesting fact.
Yeah. So when you sleep, your brain waves change into like way slower, more synchronized waveforms. We call them alpha at the beginning, and the different stages of sleep are differentiated by the difference in these brainwaves. So when you are in deep sleep, you have these super slow, like valleys and height, like hills. While when you're dreaming, they're much more like rapid. And if you can't rest, you're sort of stuck between the sort of more erratic beta states than the alpha state. Is that what you were sort of...
Absolutely, yeah.
Because there are so many ways we could take this question.
Yes. I really wanted to then say that the science that we have here, how we can measure these brain waves and how you just so beautifully described them, will right away translate into symbology, right? Yeah. Like just imagine waters with very frequent high waves.
Yes.
And these really deep, steady waves. I just think it's always so beautiful how nature, right?
Yeah,
it's
nature.
just right there, and it says it all. And then we luckily now we have science and be like, right.
There are some parallels here.
Yeah. So then, what happens when we're not rested? We can't see and we can't act clearly anymore, because then obviously that affects our nervous system. And what does that do in our daily life?
Well, I think less energy is a very obvious one, but you'll also have like the more active amygdala and emotional brain, lower cognitive skills that can be like very clearly measured, and memory, and not to mention hormones are so highly affected by sleep. I know you've had Pauline on here, the amazing Pauline.
She's a friend of both of us.
Yeah.
Hi, Pauline.
Hi, Pauline. We love you. And those are so everything in your body really benefits from getting enough sleep. There's not a single system in your body and not a single function of the brain that isn't sadly very negatively impacted, or at least negatively impacted if you don't get enough sleep over a long amount of time.
Right. And quality sleep, right?
That's a very important thing.
So now, from a very practical in your life position, what happens when you don't sleep?
Oh,
because there's a little wonder.
There's a little miracle waking me up every hour this day.
Just practically in life, what did you notice when you strip away all the science?
Well, I'm way more reactive, I think. But I will say this. Okay, I say way more reactive, but I will also say that because I think the conversation around sleep, and like a lot of people are waking up to the importance, literally and figuratively, to the importance of sleep these days. But I know for some people that can also cause anxiety around like not sleeping as much. So I think a very important point to pull out is that the human body is incredible, and you can survive. I don't know if I would say I'm thriving right now, waking up every hour, but I'm doing quite well. And it's been going on for some time.
For 2 years.
Yeah, on and off without the like regular 8-hour intervals that I would prefer getting. That obviously makes it even more important for me to find rest in other ways. So I get a lot of energy from just feeling into all the love that is in my family right now, and from nature, and from like short practices of yoga nidra. That really fuel me up with just 10 minutes.
Yes.
So, you know, I know the community here is also a part of, like, they know about the energy system and that there are multiple sources of fuel for us, and nothing can replace sleep.
Yes.
But remember, if you are in a season where getting enough sleep is difficult for you, either if it's because of sleep problems or circumstances that are difficult to control, then just remember that you will be fine. Yes. And I think that's also so important, because the fear of not getting enough sleep will for sure make it more difficult to sleep.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's part of the mind talk you have about sleep, and the sleep associations, which play a huge role in the nervous system's ability to enter that state of rest.
Yeah, and when you're caught in the mind, right, then you're not in the body anymore, and your body can't relax, and that way you can't sleep. So if you're caught up here, try to get back into your body. And also, what I want to add to what you just said, yes, you can source rest from tiny pockets in your day, like with a yoga nidra, and I just observing you the past week, I think it's so beautiful how you do that. But you have to make a conscious and loving effort. Yeah. And I think that's really important, because so many people, they will be on their phone for an hour before they go to sleep, and then wonder why they can sleep. Yeah. Right? You have to make that effort to change up your body's support in resting.
Such a key thing. And I'm very passionate about the subject of screen time when it comes to both the last half hour before bed, but also the first half hour in the morning.
Exactly. Tell us why that is so important.
Well, in the evening, I'll start there. The phone is not just stealing time, it's really stealing tomorrow's energy. And that's because of the way it is designed. One thing is the blue light, which I think a lot of people are more aware of these days. But you can't just put on blue light blockers and then the problem is solved, because it's really more what the phone represents to the brain. That's one part of it. Yeah. And then it's the design of it, which is truly like the dopamine activating thing that is like truly putting your body into the sympathetic response. And what it responds, you can see if people just see their phone, you can see on like an MRI and brain scans that these areas for all these different areas of life light up. So things that would normally represent your finances, because you're used to dealing with your bank things from your phone, and your social life. And so you're really inviting your whole world and all your obligations into your bedroom and your precious last moments. That can activate you. For some people, it makes it difficult to fall asleep. But even those who fall asleep easily, it's very likely to be doing something to your sleep quality. And I don't know about you, but I'm very interested in maximizing those hours I actually get to sleep. I want to be like good quality sleep. Yes. And in the morning, it really primes your attention system for the rest of the day.
I noticed that a lot.
Yeah, because your brain waves are still in this like really slow alpha waves the first 5-10 minutes you wake up. And when that's the case, you are more impressionable. So if you take those 5 minutes to it could be take 5 really deep breaths just to signal to your nervous system that you're safe. that will have a bigger impact than doing them randomly although that's powerful too.
Yeah.
Or if it's evoking an emotion that you want more of in your life, you will train those circuits.
Yes.
And when you take your phone out, you're really priming your brain for distraction, and a lot of the marketing and stuff on your phone, like it's a sad part of the business, I guess, but it's really putting some signals that, oh, you're not enough, like you're not doing enough of these things that everyone else are doing, and you should be buying this before you're enough. I just think that's a very unfortunate thing to be taking into your brain.
Yeah.
And you will differ in sensitivity to this. I think that was like a huge thing for me when I was in the years of recovery, and I was so sensitive. Really, just looking at my phone would trigger a sense of unease. I could not look at it at all for the last hour of the day, and I needed meditation and guided relaxation to help me make that switch from sympathetic to parasympathetic. While right now I'm not as sensitive. So I can reply to a message before bed, but I try not to do it. And now these things are such ingrained in me as well. So they come very naturally.
Yeah, I think it's so important to know when you need your tools.
Yes.
Yeah, and then to have them.
And know that they exist. If you're struggling with sleep, know that there are things you can do. I think Yoga Nidra is like fantastic, phenomenal example where you can measure this. Brain scans,
studies on it.
Lots of different signals in your body that this is a practice that helps the brain go from analytical, like turned on, to deep, more rest and digest states.
Yeah, and you can also even use that not only for sleep, right? But if you're a person who's caught in the analytical part of their brain, of their being, of their identification with self, then these tools might even help to bring you back to the mythological self, the softer side, the female side, right? Yeah. And also, speaking about the mythological, if we don't get rest, our dreams get fractured. If we don't have these winters every night, right? Cyclical nature, we lose the ability to connect to a deep core, to our intuition, to our higher self even. So if we just think of that, we lose the connection to our dreams, or our dreams get fractured. What would you share from that perspective of, it's such a unique and special and sacred moment where you're at, right? As yes, you don't have perfect sleep at the moment, like maybe you're even far from that. But what does that teach us on a global, a cultural level of coming back to our dreams, and maybe having times where we allow ourselves that you don't have to make your dreams come true now, act up now. I just think it's so important to honor that, especially as women, there are times in our every month cycle, but also in the bigger scheme of our life, where we are not meant to be the boss babe.
Definitely feeling that right now.
And I think we culturally need to speak more about that, because it's happening. It's happening to our bodies on a physical level. But then how do we deal with that emotionally? That was a lot. I'm sorry. No,
it's a phenomenal thing to dive into, because I really think it's not spoken enough about. And we all want to... we all want to achieve we all want our lives to be something special. And
they are.
That's the one thing, like realizing that your life is so special, and the most extraordinary thing you can do with your life, I think, is to find the extraordinary in the ordinary. That doesn't mean it's not allowed to like have big dreams and go for them, because hell yeah, I support that. But I do think that for a lot of us, maybe especially women, because of our cyclical nature, and I know there will be individual differences. Some people are very go-go, but that there will be times where you're called to slow down. And I think for me, this call started quite before I really accepted it.
Isn't it always like that?
Isn't it always like that? It can be, I think the issues that come up obviously are trust, and leaning into that, and also recognizing that it's an ego death, because we're so used to tying like worth with what we achieve. And it's very cool. I can say that it was very cool to be a lot on stage and pitch and have things go well and have things think that what I was doing was cool. And then all of a sudden it's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, right now I'm home with my children. And that's an amazing season of life too. And even I can feel like some sort of the pressure to like start something again, keep going. But then truly, like if I feel in and if I honor my truth right now, I'm really called to sit and integrate. Because without the winters, like you just go and you keep taking in information and you keep, but having this time for me where I'm just sort of integrating what is true after all these years, what's true for me now, and not even, obviously I'm wondering a bit like what's next. But then I'm laughing at myself for like even wondering and trusting that it will unfold. And then again we're back with the layers, because it's the fact that I'm also trying to trust that even if it doesn't unfold, that's okay too. Maybe that's the path that I sort of imagined myself on wasn't for me. But I'm also honoring this time to just really reconnect with my heart, because I think, one of the true pleasures of being human is connecting to your heartfelt desires and then shedding the layers that are keeping you from either seeing them in a clear light or going for them with all your power in a way.
I think you do that so beautifully in life.
Thank you.
Again, all the shades, all the layers, all the times and seasons of your life. That will always look different throughout life. The fact that there is a drive, the fact that there is a longing and you walk towards it.
There's always, if you look in, there's always a longing. And if it's not, it might not look like like what you think it should look like, but it's just right now I guess my longing is of a sweet kind for just presence and peace, and to experience surrender more deeply than I have before. And I wish we could all lean back, not do, rest more, and thus be able to see, in which season of life am I? Yes.
Is what I want to do appropriate right now? Right? And that ultimately then connects us so much to what we're here for.
Yes.
And to living each moment that we're given with presence.
Yes.
With a sweet presence, as you said.
Sweet presence. And that does require a little step back sometimes.
Thank you so much for sharing your story.
I
love you so much. I am sure that everybody who listens will bask in your knowledge.
Oh, that makes me so happy.
And I really can't wait to do that again.
Yes, let's please.
Yes.
Love the club.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do you think we covered like a good... Do you think it was good?
It was great.